So as you have been through 3 days of extremely inspiring seminars, webinars on various aspects of solar energy development in technology, policy, community, creative approach, and so on. So today we have a final concluding session, and we titled this Glasgow Climate Pact from Egypt to COP28, moving forward with energy transition. So this session will cover the future, a look at the present and the future. It has been a dominant message throughout this webinar that there is a big gap between what needs to be done and what is being done, or even what is a big gap between what needs to be done and what's promised to be done. And I believe that people will agree that policymakers still owe us, the citizens, a commitment, a sufficient ambition to address the accelerating crisis of climate change that we all see and hear, experience and suffer from around the world in the form of flood, heat, extreme weather, drought, and all sorts. Fires are still raging in Canada and other countries. The recovery from flood in Pakistan is not complete, and the drought in the Horn of Africa continues. So climate justice is an issue. So looking forward to the COP in November, December, we are expecting not just more promises, we need delivery. So the issues of defossilisation and the issue of loss and damage and other big issues are going to be on the table. So in this final session of the Asian Solar Energy for Climate Change Conference, we have 3 sharings. The first one is Wahyu from Semarang City, a mayor of Semarang in Indonesia. And we have Vincent Vindarao from Quezon City in Philippines. And we have also Priscilla Lin from Solemnity, a young person's organizations, to hear their aspirations and expectations. So because Ms. Wahyu cannot be with us, there is a festival in the city, but she's so generous to spare the time and sharing with us through video a message. So we'll start with that. Ms. Hefarata Gunawriyanti Wahyu is the mayor of Semarang, as said before. But before being officially designated as the mayor in January 2023, She held the position of deputy mayor from 2016 to 2022 and was appointed as the acting mayor in 2022. She's currently also pursuing her Doctor of Political Science degree at UNDIP. In addition to her political career, she is also actively engaged in various organizations, including as the deputy chairman of the PCI Peturangan branch representative council of Samaran and the chairman of the DBD Pinken Central Java. So, and she has many other positions as well. So let's hear her message and we'll play the video now.
Good afternoon. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for the time given to me. I want to introduce myself. I'm Heviarita Gunaryanti Rahayu, the Mayor of Semarang City. Today, I want to present about Semarang City's plan and commitment toward solar energy. The Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, also known as the Global Goals, were adopted by the United Nations in 2015 as a universal call to action to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure that by 2030 our people enjoy peace and prosperity. The 17 points of SDGs seen in the picture are integrated. They recognize that action in one area will affect outcomes in other, and that development must balance social, economic, and environmental sustainability. Because in the end, we believe that sustainable development is the key to prevent climate change. Before we begin, let me introduce you to our beautiful Semarang City. Geographic and demographic condition of Semarang City. There are 16 districts and 177 sub-districts with a population of 1.7 million people. Semarang is well known of its history, including this heritage area called Kota Lama. Many tourists come to visit Semarang to see the beauty of old buildings covered with artistic urban design. We aim to become a tourism city that focuses on trade and services. We have unique topography consisting of beaches, lowland, and highlands. Semarang has 6.4% agricultural land, far wetter than any other big cities. As you can see on the slide, our vision and mission as Semarang City local government to achieve development plan with the basis of Pancasila focus on 5 missions, namely 1. Human resources quality, 2. Local economic development, 3. Fulfill the basic right and social welfare, 4. Infrastructure support, and 5. Bureaucratic reformation. To achieve our SDGs goal, we have many programs in many areas that support sustainable development, such as in spatial planning and infrastructure. We have programs like green space, arrangement, creation of city water infiltration areas, and urban forest conservation in energy and climate area, we have wind power plant prototype and household gas network. Then in waste management, we implement waste and garbage sector sanitation policy and waste to energy plan. For water governance, we have master plan related to water management. We also have initiative for access and mobility and government as you can on the slide. As we know, renewable energy has a huge potential. For example, turning waste and garbage to energy can produce up to 498 megawatt. Wind to energy can produce to zero point 0.6 kilowatt per location. In the right picture, we can see how we transform Jatibarang landfills into fastening waste to energy that actively produce energy for the people of Semarang. These are some examples of how Semarang City has adapted alternative energy sources. We have we have solar power plant in Jatibarang. It is a big reservoir that has long sun exposure, so it is a great place to emit sun energy. As mentioned earlier, we have waste to power plant in Jatibarang landfills. We also have solar power plant installed in the city hall. Then we have wind power plant prototype. Everything we do as local government affects the lives of people we represent. In terms of alternative energy, we successfully implement gas fuel conversion and use it to fuel our buses as a mode of public transportation. And we also have electric bus. We also have initiative named Climate Village Program or Proclaim at Purwoyoso area. Policy regarding management of renewable energy and energy efficiency has been arranged in Mayor Regulation number 24 year 2019 on green building. It results in several achievements such as Jatibarang solar power plant that produces 300 kilowatt peak energy. Our wind power plant produces 4 kilowatt peak, and we also actively utilize cow manure waste and turn into energy. This is timeline on Semarang City Government's policy on the rooftop solar panel. In 2019, we conduct a study to find out the potential of development of new and renewable energy. After that, we undergo the grant process for rooftop solar panel development from the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources. The handover of grant for rooftop solar panel development was done in 2021. This program is also included in local government development plan priority program for year 2021 to 2026. And last year, we conduct a preparation of a feasibility study for the construction of rooftop solar panel in government's building in the city of Semarang. This is the report of potential study for development of new and renewable energy that we published in 2019. In this project, we collaborate with Diponegoro University to explore the big potential that Semarang City possesses in developing renewable energy. This is our plan regarding the location of rooftop solar panel installation. We plan to install it on Mr. Muhammad Iksan building on Semarang City Hall office complex. We can also see the irradiation potential in our city. Semarang is coastal city that has big sun exposure, and it's ideal to have solar panel constructed on the rooftop. The average power requirement or the amount of power installed at the Semarang City Hall office complex to support office activities and is estimated to 10 kilowatts. This is a picture of solar panels successfully installed in the rooftop of government office. Seeing the success, we plan to have more solar panels installed on all government offices in Semarang City. Construction of rooftop solar panels in government-owned buildings has been designated as a local government development plan priority program for year 2021 to 2026. The program is included in Mission 4, creating quality infrastructure with environmental insight to support city progress. As you see here, we have included installation of a rooftop solar panel of Semarang government offices as a part of our commitment to support renewable energy. In 2022, we were preparing feasibility study and detailed engineering design for the construction of rooftop solar panel. Our next plan this year until 2026 is that we can begin finally this is Semarang City's plan and commitment towards the utilization of solar energy. We hope to continue this program and achieve more results for the good news of our people. Semarang is a beautiful city that has big potential to grow bigger and greater. We invite you to come visit us and experience it yourself. Matur nuwun, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. We are impressed with the Semarang City government's commitment to promoting solar energy specifically and in combating climate change in general. And I hope that this will set as an example for other cities. And I do want to support the mayor's invitation to visit the city. We will have time to come back. Maybe let's move to the second speaker, Mr. Vincent Vinarao is the Assistant Department Head of the Quezon City Climate Change and Environmental Sustainability Department. He has a bachelor's degree in economics and a master's degree in environmental management. So Quezon City's Climate Change and Environmental Sustainability Department is doing a lot of things on combating climate change. So let's hear from Vincent. Thank you very much.
Afternoon, everyone. Let me just pull up my presentation. Okay. Again, good afternoon. On behalf of the Quezon City government, first, we would like to thank the organizers, CarbonCare InnoLab, for inviting Quezon City in this Asia Solar Energy for Climate Change conference. Um, for giving us the opportunity to present our priority climate actions on renewable energy, as well as energy efficiency and conservation. It is actually good to know about what is happening at the local level, since cities are now gearing towards sustainable energy. Um, just a quick background about Quezon City. So our city is located in the northeast portion of metropolitan Manila. It is the biggest city in terms of land area and population among the 17 cities and municipality forming Metro Manila. The city's land area is more than 16,000 hectares, and we have more than 3 million people and more than 65,000 registered business establishments. Just to provide a context, the city's renewable and energy efficiency programs and projects are integrated in the city's enhanced local climate change action plan for 2021 to 2050. So this plan basically shows the city's commitment to ambitious climate action that deliver mitigation, adaptation, and equitable benefits to all its citizens. It integrates the scientific and evidence-based analysis and methodology under the C40 Climate Action Plan framework and ensures the city's alignment with carbon neutrality and resilience by mid-century. Another important theme to this document is the city's commitment to a climate strategy that is compatible with the objectives of the Paris Agreement and, of course, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Our enhanced LCCAP is informed by local circumstances and priorities, and it's also been harmonized with the standards and requirements of the Philippine government through its National Climate Change Action Plan. To ensure a responsive climate action plan, we have undergone a strategic process involving science-based approaches. First, we have built our evidence base with the conduct of the greenhouse gas emissions inventory in 2019, using 2016 as baseline, and our climate risk assessment as well as scenario modeling in 2020. So you can see in the screen, the citywide GHG inventory covers stationary energy, transportation, and waste sectors, following the global protocol for community-scale greenhouse gas emission inventories. And based on the city's inventory results, you can see here that stationary energy sector contributes a large amount of emission share, accounting to 60% of the total emissions. So this is followed by the transport sector at 21%, then waste at 19%. Of the 60% emissions from the stationary energy, commercial sector is the biggest contributor with 51%. This is followed by manufacturing, then residential. This just shows the potential of a sustainable energy program and what it can contribute as we target an interim 30% greenhouse gas emissions reduction by 2030 and carbon neutrality by 2050. For today's sharing and presentation, I will be focusing on our strategies and the corresponding priority climate actions that will drive the city's renewable energy as well as energy efficiency and conservation programs based on the city's enhanced local climate change action plan. It is also important to mention that two relevant national legislations also serve as framework for the city's various policies and programs, and these are the Renewable Energy Act 2008 and the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Act. The Renewable Energy Act aims to accelerate exploration and development of renewable energy sources, achieve energy self-reliance, and adapt clean energy to mitigate the effects of climate change. On the other hand, the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Act aims to institutionalize energy efficiency and conservation, promote and encourage the development and utilization of efficient renewable energy system, and ensure a market-driven approach to energy efficiency and conservation. As mentioned a while ago, 60% of Quezon City's emissions came from stationary energy. This goes to show that the city's built environment gets the majority share of emissions and therefore suggests the need to prioritize these sectors for the city to be directed to a low and eventually zero emission economic pathway. So strategy 8 focuses on green, energy efficient, and resilient buildings, meaning all sectors will be enjoined to achieve the objectives of this strategy. We are targeting 80 to 100% fully compliant buildings to our green building code by 2030. Right now, we are currently amending the code to raise minimum energy efficiency requirements, for buildings and increase the rate of compliance towards a robust building energy code with appropriate incentives, including renewable energy installations such as solar PV systems. Energy efficiency and conservation will also be promoted, aligned with the country's national energy efficiency and conservation program. And of course, renewable energy will play an important role in our climate change mitigation plans. So strategy 9 of our plan aims to secure a clean and affordable renewable energy access. Quezon City will maximize the potential of solar energy utilization in both public and private buildings and facilities to achieve environmental and economic co-benefits. Currently, we have 6 buildings within the Quezon City Hall compound and 2 public schools that have installed solar PV systems. We also have ongoing initiative. We're going to solarize 50 public schools and 3 government-owned hospitals. So this will be expanded in other public schools and city-owned facilities to promote the use of the technology in other sectors, which can significantly reduce our GHG emissions. Our ambitious plan is to solarize 100% of our public schools and other key government buildings that are feasible for solar PV installations. For the 6 buildings in the City Hall compound, so that's a total of 278 kilowatt peak of energy. For the 3 hospitals, that's about 518 kilowatt peak. And for the public schools, we have an initial study covering 50 public schools and a maximum aggregate capacity of 2.74 megawatt peak of electricity can be produced. From this, we can see the potential of solarizing all 158 public schools. This also, the city also owns more than 500 buildings and facilities, which can be assessed for possible installation of solar PV systems. So we are looking at huge capacity when it comes to energy produced from our solar PV installations. Leveraging renewable energy policy mechanisms, including incentive schemes provided for by the Renewable Energy Act, is also our priority. With the passing of the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Act in 2019, so this is a national law, Quezon City is more than ever empowered to deliver programs that reduce energy demands, promote utility savings, and cut emissions. Strategy 10 targets the mainstreaming of energy efficiency and conservation in government-owned buildings and facilities. Just to let the others know, the city government is required to submit a local energy efficiency and conservation plan here in the Philippines. And we are also required to implement the government energy management program to reduce electricity and fuel consumption annually. So some initiative we're currently are undertaking is the replacement of lighting systems into LED and the installation, retrofitting, repair, and maintenance of city street lights through the implementation of integrated energy efficient street lighting program, among others. Aside from the strategies and priority actions in our enhanced local climate change action plan, currently we have an existing technical assistance from the C40 Cities Climate Leadership Group. With funding from the UK government and assistance from the C40 cities, the Climate Action Implementation Program provides implementation support to the city's policies and initiatives on energy efficiency and conservation through the adoption of renewable energy in government-owned, commercial, and residential buildings, as well as the enhancement of the Green Building Code. Just to sum up, all the planned solarization initiatives and compliance to the amended Green Building Code for public and private buildings have a potential GHG reduction of 12% for the city. We are actually looking forward to coming global initiatives and commitment, especially in the energy sector, since that's the pathway that we want for the city government to reduce our emissions and help in the fight against climate change. And that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Vincent, for your sharing about the Quezon city government's plan. So we'll come back for questions and comments from the audience later on. So if people want to ask any questions or comments or raise any points, you can do so in the chat box. So finally, let's hear the voice of the youth. We have Ms. Priscilla Lin, who is the co-founder of Sominity, a youth initiative on renewable energy. So Priscilla is very passionate about promoting the fight against climate change and climate justice. Professionally, she is also in the ESG analysis and also has a background of NGO work in community, in education and community work. So may I hand over to Priscilla and hear what she has to share with us.
Thank you, Chen Yao. Thank you, CarbonCare InnoLab, for having me. Hi, everyone. This is Priscilla from Hong Kong. I'm a co-founder of Sominity. Just a little bit background of Sominity. We want to address renewable energy transition in Hong Kong. Why? At the current stage, Hong Kong have renewable energy usage of less than 1%. But in a world of climate crisis, we understand energy transition is the key for our climate action. As a citizen and a consumer for the energy choice, in Hong Kong, it's hard to really make the choice of having renewable energy transition in my own personal choice, unless I own a rooftop, or like maybe I can install some renewable energy solar device. But it shouldn't be this case, because in order to do a very successful climate action, this requires the engagement of the ecosystem. What does that mean? It means we need to engage the communities around us. Everyone is on board of the climate agenda. One solution is promoting community solar. We look around the region. There's actually a different example, ranging from Taiwan, South Korea, Kyoto, different cities. They are embracing change through rapid adaptation of solar energy. It's fast, it's versatile, the cost is competitive. There's no choice. We need to do this energy transition. There's different ways to do it in Hong Kong. We would like to suggest the Hong Kong government to release vacant land, so we can use highway, parking lot. There's different potential to install solar panel in order to increase our renewable energy target. At the current Hong Kong Climate Action Plan, there's a pledge of having 7.5 to 15% renewable energy target by 2030. However, we noticed there's also different research conduct. We can increase the percentage of renewable energy usage much higher, up to 21% if we use our land efficiently. So we would like to emphasize this message. This is one key thing for Hong Kong as a leading green finance hub and also a leading world city to take on a renewable energy transition challenge. Then back to the global setting, I got the privilege to join CarbonCare InnoLab Climate Advocacy for Youth program and have the opportunity to attend COP26 and COP27. During COP26, there's a huge energy and like commitment from the Glasgow Climate Pact. You notice there's different commitment happening. It seems the world is ready for more climate action. However, when we were at the COP27, the world is a little bit different. It turns out things are business as usual. Can we afford that? Obviously, no. Climate change is happening now. The climate crisis is upon us. From the everyday extreme weather, and the one who produce the least carbon emission, they suffer the most. And the one who consume the most resources doesn't have to pay that much price. We notice climate inequality in the global developing countries and the developed country. And also, we also notice there's intergenerational gaps. For me, I need to look ahead for the next maybe 30 years or ahead. What kind of world will I live in? Is it a 2-degree world? Is it a 4-degree world? It's highly unimaginable. This is acceptable. Currently, our temperature is 1.2, and we're already feeling the heat. I want to bring up a case in recently Greece. You notice there's different wildfire. However, the thing is, there's people killed in the wildfire. This is the social impact we're going to see more and more often. Extreme climate event, there's more lives going to be lost. And some of the lives might be asylum seeker who are maybe escaping from other climate-induced impact or event. They might escape to a place, but they cannot feel accepted or having the right to keep, having the life. And then later on, they might even suffer from more extreme climate event. This is a tragedy, and we are noticing more and more happening around the world. At COP, the key focus must be energy transition. We need to phase out fossil fuel. It's not about decarbonization, it's about defossilization. The impact of fossil fuel is so huge on our daily health. We rely on it, enormously. But doesn't mean we cannot make a change. We need the climate leadership. Leaders taking more moral responsibility and commitment to be bold and make the change. First, set up a target, commitment. The second part, work with your stakeholder, different stakeholder group. They have a say, have being part of inclusiveness principle, and then in order to cascade the change. We understand if we don't get everyone on board in terms of climate action, it will just create more disagreement, more conflict. We really need to ensure everyone is be part of this journey. This is one part in terms of the climate mitigation. But in terms of climate adaptation, we notice for COP28, there will be a huge more focus on climate adaptation framework, how we can really have climate adaptation finance and to fill the infrastructure gap in between. Right now, we are talking about trillions of dollars of gaps. And so we really need to come up with new financial framework, whether it's like the transition from World Bank, or maybe there's new more blended finance from the private sector, private and public sector combined fund to really address the challenge ahead. And the other part is loss and damage. In COP27, we noticed there's this establishment of the loss and damage fund, but we need the concrete amount, the funding amount, to really kickstart the process, to make it accelerate process instead of waiting years after years. We don't have time to wait for that. I want to remind everyone, it's about from now to 2030. All the decisions that make within this time frame are the most decisive one. We don't have time to wait to really, we need to fight for our life, for also a secure and more livable future for everyone. There's also a time frame of a ticking clock. Once we reach the tipping point on our ecological layer or even social layer, there will be a point of no return. So what ahead of us is a lot of challenges. We understand, we always hear about challenges, so difficult. But I want to remind everyone, now, today, we are together, whether on this platform, whether we're connected to the community around us, we need to work hand in hand. The stakeholder engagement approach is the key forward. This is how we ensure a just energy transition. This is how we ensure no one left behind. And we need to think about the most vulnerable community members. It might be asylum seeker, it might be elderly, children, people with disability, people from low-income background. They are the ones we need to put at the heart of our decision-making process. Make sure we don't miss out them. And also, for those who can provide more resources, whether it's a funding, whether it is connection, we need everyone work together. So looking ahead, we need to focus on a few things. Defossilization. The word of decarbonization is too slow. It's not enough. Do we only focus on decarbonizing fossil fuel or just go straight to defossilization? The second part, we need to focus on health, whether from the climate impact on how we adapt to more extreme climate event, the impact of fossil fuel on us, on health issue, the mental health, how do we adjust to more extreme climate anxiety? From the daily news, sometimes people shut down, people deny it. We need to be mindful about the mental health as well. Whether from a personal experience, I got burned out from too many climate news, to feeling how little or powerless I am, to embracing it, really work with each other. All of us have very different expertise and ideas and energy. We work hand to hand. Having an open mindset, having the collaborative mindset is the key forward. Because what we're talking about is a system change. It's not about business as usual. We need to look for a transformative action. It doesn't always come from the youth. We need to work with different generation. Whether from older generation will have a lot of accumulative emission that we're dealing with now, or the younger generation who have a lot of ideas and energy to really drive the change. So today, I hope it's just a beginning to kickstart our conversation, action, and collaboration. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Priscilla, for your inspiring remarks and sharing. Yeah, it's a call to action and a call to commitment. So we welcome questions and comments. I've got one from Natalie. Is COP28 going to be able to address the issue of energy access and affordability for middle-income countries? But yeah, I can expand this to all, even developing countries. So, okay, do you have any comments on that? What is your expectation of COP28? Priscilla talked a bit about it. Do you want to elaborate more?
Yes, I can elaborate more. For COP28, we need to be mindful. The first bottom line that is non-negotiation is to phase out fossil fuel. We talk about this on COP26, COP27. It's always the last minute. We need to be bold about it because we are talking about human lives. We are talking about the future of the point of no return. So first, phase out fossil fuel. There's a lot of concern about having COP28 in an oil-rich country, but I think we should emphasize even oil-rich country can make a difference, can make a change. Why not starting the great legacy to phase out fossil fuel, to embrace the future we deserve, which is a solar or renewable energy power future? This is one thing. Second part, we need to talk about climate finance. Whether from the $100 billion from the climate finance that we are asking every year, to talking about climate adaptation, climate mitigation, and then climate loss and damage. All this require more different funding source, channel, and we need to be creative about it, because right now we see there's a huge gap. But if we don't make this transition happen, the cost of inaction is much greater. So the next part is always about climate finance. The third part, this is a topic that very close to my heart, is about food. At COP27, we noticed there's increased emphasis on food security. There's different pavilion talking about plant-based food transition. Ultimately, food system is produce 1/3 of the global emission. How we use our land, how we produce our food matters a lot. And coming from a more developed city level setting, 91%, this is how much we import food on a daily basis. How can we ensure like the food we consume are sustainable, doesn't cause deforestation, and also doesn't create more biodiversity loss? I hope to see there's more focus on food, but at the same time, do not just have one agenda on food. We need to be able to connect to energy transition. This is also part of the food system transformation as well. And there's different topic. I hope to see more loss and damage, the funding it requires, and how we can do more in terms of addressing the most vulnerable countries' need. We don't really have time to see more islands to get sink or disappear. Will be a huge irresponsible choice, and we cannot do that because it's part of human right, the principle we should hold tightly to. And there's topics that always got shuffled around. There's gender topic. There's also a topic on resilience. And there's always about the global stocktake. This is the year we have the global stocktake at COP28. Even though we somewhat know already, we are far behind our target. But I hope to see at COP28, there's more conductive, productive conversation coming out from it. Really facing the fact where we are at now and make more progress out of it.
Thank
So
you.
this is for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Priscilla, for a very elaborate list of expectations. Yeah, I think that's great. So, Vincent, do you have any expectations from COP28?
Actually, Priscilla has said everything that that I'm going to say. I'm just going to echo what she said. No? Yeah, I think we need to be more assertive. We have to be more ambitious. And as I've mentioned a while ago, we hope that developing countries like the Philippines can get the support from the international community in terms of financing and technology. And Priscilla already touched about equity and inclusivity. So I guess everything was said already.
Okay, Vincent, because Quezon City or the Philippines sits in the middle of a geographical context of typhoons and rising sea levels and so on. So there must be a great concern from your end. So how does Quezon City view its climate action plan in contributing to the Philippines, say, nationally determined contribution under the Paris Agreement? So this is a question from an audience. So do you have any comment on that?
In our enhanced local climate change action plan, of course, when we talk about climate change, we have to answer both the climate change mitigation and adaptation. So our vision really is, Quezon City's vision really is to be the number one city, to take the lead in terms of climate action. And our climate change mitigation goal is to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions by 30% in 2030 and and pursue carbon neutrality by 2050. On the other hand, our climate change adaptation, we would like to increase the capacities, the resiliency of our communities and natural ecosystems. Yes, the Philippines is one of the country that's that has the one of the highest risk in terms of typhoons and other calamities, and I think the national government has prepared the necessary framework for the local government units to follow. So it's fortunate that yeah, there's vertical and horizontal collaboration in terms of governance. In terms of our contribution to the NDC, I've mentioned a while ago that Quezon City is one of the biggest city and most populous in the country. So whatever our climate change mitigation actions are, we're going to influence a lot of cities. Yeah, we want to take the lead. We want them to follow. The other cities we want other cities to follow. We want to influence other cities and municipalities so that they can also implement their climate change mitigation actions. And in this perspective, I think we can contribute a lot.
What would say would be the biggest obstacles in fulfilling your city's plan? Is it investment? Is it attitudes? And are there still priorities in fossil fuel? So energy security and transition to renewable energy. Is there a tension between these two priorities? Sometimes people put them up as a competing priorities. I need security in energy. Therefore, I need to still depend on fossil fuel. Coal plants and so oils. Is it happening in the context of Croissant City?
First, I'm going to answer what's the biggest limitation.
Okay.
In terms of fully implementing our climate action. Well, we all know that um, in implementation of mitigation and adaptation actions, you need huge amount of investment, money. So the first obstacle is financing, because in a city budget, you have to also prioritize other sectors. So they're competing. So your environment and climate action will compete with other budget. For example, social, education, health. But good thing about our city, it's important to really have political will. Just put the plan there, and we're hoping that investors will come because we have a pretty extensive list of priority actions that we need to implement. So in our plan, you can see there we have targets, we have specific milestones, and that's what we want. We want to also to attract investments and financing because we have a pretty comprehensive plan. So that's the first part. In terms of energy, um, well, the national government is also gearing towards transition to sustainable energy. So they already have, I think, a plan. Because currently, I don't have the exact figures right now, but I guess renewable energy is already 29% of the whole energy mix of the country, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm.
Um, Yes, energy security really is important because the more people, the more industries, economic development, you need more resources, you need more electricity. So this is going to be a dilemma when you want to balance environment, economic development. So, but the good part is we have the example of other cities and countries already transitioning to a more sustainable energy, so we can benchmark there, and we can see what are the opportunities that we can have or we can adapt. So yeah, so there are already various case studies, examples out there that can help us in our energy transition. So I guess balancing sustainability and economic development, we can navigate those because of the case studies and examples out there.
Right. So I have here a comment from Tong Wing Si, I think. Extreme weather and climate crisis happening daily across the world. Absolutely, we need to put more urgency on speeding up the defossilization process. We also need to prepare the crisis that is coming, um, and I would like to hear the views of the speakers if there is any synergies in the mitigation and climate resilience under the energy transition process. In some way, the talk has been addressing this, but see if you have any elaboration to respond to this comment. You know, the added urgency and the synergy, between sectors. So maybe Priscilla start with and any response to this comment.
Definitely. On the city level, there's definitely a huge need to create a comprehensive climate action plan. The other part for city already have done a climate action plan. It's time to revisit, to do it every year. Just like having a corporate social responsibility disclosure, they do it every year, having a report. This should happen for city and country as well. Why? Because based on what we notice is like extreme climate event is happening more and more often. Are the city having enough measure to address the climate risk? We should really accelerate the climate risk disclosure on a city level and corporate level. This is how we can create synergy on the mitigation and climate resilience in our decision-making process and create a strategy, create action that is well and holistic, to address the challenge ahead. So yes, definitely.
Okay. Yeah, Vincent, you have anything to add?
I just want to add a discussion on when we talk about sustainable energy transition. Of course, cities need to plan ahead. They should have a pathway or a roadmap. Um, so this must contain, for example, technological options and enabling policy measures to consider. And as I've mentioned a while ago, you have to balance everything. No? You have the three different sectors. For example, three key indicators: economic, social, and financial implications of the scenario or the pathway that you're going to take. Um, with this, the city would be supported to make informed decisions, to develop and implement a set of policies. So I think for a sustainable energy transition, you need these elements, proper planning, um, to really achieve what's the to really achieve the target or objectives of the city. So I guess, and then I think mostly the question was answered already during
Okay.
the presentation. So.
Yeah, thank you. There is also a question about just transitions, uh, meaning how do we keep everybody on board, especially those who are vulnerable? How can we make sure that there is a just process in, say, climate finance or in energy transitions? So, in a way, Vincent has talked about this, but do you want to highlight any particular groups which are vulnerable in your city and that you pay particularly more attention to them?
In our enhanced local climate change action plan, inclusivity, equity, and exclusivity is important. So,
Mhm.
meaning that the people, citizens, and the vulnerable community should be involved in the process. They should be one of the benefactors of our climate action programs, and they should be included in our policies. So in terms of energy, of course, we have to look at the informal sector, the 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 communities that don't have the means to, for example, to provide or purchase energy. So what should the city think about if we have this sector? Of course, they should be our priority. We have to implement policies that can uplift their lives, these communities. For example, in terms of energy, in our solarization project, of course, we want also these communities to have access. So we're thinking about giving incentives, providing subsidies. We also want them to their electricity consumption to go down. So we're promoting LED lighting system and energy efficient appliances. So one of our programs right now, for example, is we are going to distribute this kind of lighting systems and appliances to the sectors. And from this, they will understand the importance of reducing their energy consumption. And in return, they can help the city to achieve its climate goals. So I think that it's a two-way partnership between the city government and the communities and the vulnerable sectors that we want to encourage in participating in terms of climate action.
Right. So, Priscilla, in terms of your work as an NGO, what would you say would be the most likely groups to be forgotten in the context of Hong Kong, for example? And then what is your vision on just transitions here in this city?
Thank you, Chen Yao. In Hong Kong, the context, I think the first group will be on asylum seeker and refugee. For them, I see they have the least right in Hong Kong, even the right to work. In some way, without the life to work, is like doesn't hard for them to see the level of growth or how can they plan for the future. And add on the climate crisis, how we see a growing climate refugee number, and how can we address that? So we need more dialogue on refugee issue, because like expanding their right is also helping the whole climate action discourse. This is one part. The second part will be, I think, people with disability. Is the current like building or the city planning structure accessible? And what if the climate adaptation plan? Do we also include those vulnerable group, especially on accessibility? What is the response to it? Currently, I see we don't have enough accessibility structure in place, so I understand that will be even more challenging. The other part will be like people from low-income family. It might be the rise of energy costs. It might be the food costs. So for them, it will be very hard to think about the future ahead, just by focus on what's on hand is on a survival mode. Um, but in general, the whole process about just transition is to bring their voice, not just voice, but consult them, really understand the issue. Do not assume when you have the policy and instrument or the program design. You need to understand what is their need, what are the pain point they're going through now, and to make sure the expectation to include them in the whole process. A successful city response to climate action is to put the most vulnerable one at the heart of the decision-making process. So this is it.
Okay. Time is running fast, but we have a difficult questions. I don't know whether you want to address them, but I would like to just do justice to the audience who raised them. So there is a question about politics may be an obstacle for regional and international collaboration. I guess in the area of defossilizations we are talking about, particularly decarbonization, defossilisation. So, do you think COP28 will be an opportunity to address some of these questions to rebuild trust and intentions on collaborations? So I wonder if it's a big question, I know, but would the speakers have your personal view on this one? Vincent?
I think yeah, you've said it. It's a hard question,
Yeah.
and I'm not an expert in terms of we say politics there. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I guess that's the reason behind COP, bringing everyone together, just to reach a common goal. That of course, as I mentioned multiple times already. So this is for our planet. This is for climate action, and I think, well, for me, this in my personal opinion. Countries, individuals should set aside their own agenda and just look at the overall situation here. So we're protecting our planet here. We're protecting future generations here. So that's it. That's just my personal opinion. Setting aside differences just for a common goal.
Thank you. Priscilla?
Of course, I think for every COP, the most fundamental part is climate finance. So first is really show the money. This is one way for the developed countries to show, rebuild the trust, and lay out the groundwork for collaboration for a lot of developing country, especially for small island countries. The other part is just be bold and phase out fossil fuel. I think these two, once you reach the bottom line of these two, then this is a great way to move forward on building the trust and how we should be.
Right. I think this is the last one now. I've got the last one. This is about the youth. So, as a youth advocate, what is your perspective on how youth voices are going to be incorporated in COP process? So I think Priscilla has in a way talked about that, but I give you this is a final message to reiterate your call. But let's start with Vincent. Vincent, how does the Quezon City government incorporate the youth voice in your process of planning?
Yes, actually, we have a lot of youth engagement activities. In our department, there's one division, the Climate Change and Environmental Education Division. And one of the priority sector, of course, is the youth sector. One reason that we want to prioritize schools also in our solarization project, of course, is also to educate them, to open their eyes that see if we do this action, we can positively contribute to the environment. So it's actually showing the way for the youth on how we can take care of our environment and our planet. So yeah, I think I guess that's it. Just involving them, hearing them. Actually, we have one project just concluded, the Minecraft challenge. This is for elementary and high school students. So we selected an area in Quezon City that they want to develop into a more sustainable area. So I think there are a lot of entries there, and they presented their actions, their initiatives to the city mayor.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So now I give the time to the youth. So yeah, Priscilla, your comment on
Okay.
youth voices in COP.
Yes. So at COP 26, 27, I'm also part of the YANGO member, which is the UN process of the youth voice. One thing we notice, even in the COP setting or in the city planning setting, there's this youth element. But what we notice usually, we are on the nice to have column. Oh, it's nice to have a youth to present. Maybe at the end of the whole panel, share a few words. Or maybe the whole ending, planetary session, have a few youth, saying the last few words. No, we need something more. We need to be right at the decision-making process. not just the last part of consultation. We need to be in the face-to-face in the discussion. We need to be able to show not just the vision, the wish list, but also be part of the change. So in the whole decision-making process chain, we need to be part of it. And ideally, not just that one person. Ideally is like the more the merrier. Why? Because we are talking about the future, as a livable future. That is, we can be part of the change. What you see is like the level of climate anxiety among the youth are huge. What they can respond is like either through concrete climate action. This is the key way to address climate anxiety. And if a city or decision maker doesn't give enough that room or space, you first you're wasted the creative energy, all the brilliance from youth. This is one thing, you're wasting your resources. The other part is like you're creating a bunch of youth that is maybe feeling very left out or feeling they cannot be part of change or even deny like climate crisis. And you're caring about your social layers in the city or the country level. So having youth in the whole decision-making process is not something trendy. It's not something just nice to have topic. This is how it should be. And we are talking about youth not just from developed city setting. We need more diverse voices in general. This is the principle for getting everyone on the same page moving forward. So yes, youth, we need more decision-making power. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. That's a final message for decision maker. Youth needs to be in the decision-making process and needs more power. So thank you for the speakers this afternoon. I take this opportunity as the CEO of CarbonCare InnoLab to thank all the speakers over the past few days. We have over 40 of them sharing with us various perspectives on solar energy in terms of technology, policies, and just transition, creative approach, and the urgency for investment. So we cover not just about the solar energy. In a way, we are talking about climate change, climate justice. And we know that the crisis is very intensifying and that the window for change is very narrow. The IPCC, the weather experts already warn us we have only a narrow window of opportunity for change, 5 years or even less. And we are not seeing actions and commitment from the governments, the big corporations, as much as enough, as nearly enough. So we need to work more on this one, and CarbonCare InnoLab will be looking forward to working with partners in these regions, the youth, the government, and the business to help to create a more sustainable world. And it is the next generations, the present generation, we need to create a livable earth. So I think with this, I would like again to thank the sponsor of this webinar, the Hong Kong Jockey Club Charitable Trust, and also our supporting organizations, the speakers, the volunteers, the audience in particular. Hope that this webinar help to bring a new voice to the table for the change we all need to work together for. So with that, I would like to close the webinar And thank you, everybody.